Hey guys, it's Mana here, and we're back with more Lucid9. I'm excited to see what's happening. I want to know what you're all about. You're apparently an investigator? I don't know. So, let's jump back in, find out what Shigure wants, and yeah, let's go from there. Legally certified to inspect crime scenes, obtain private files, and, if necessary, interrogate unduly inquisitive citizens with the observational finesse of a blind bat. And you shall note that I am 26 years of age. Wait, what? You're 26. Unless you presume to imply that you are deaf as well as dumb, I suggest, but you're so short. Story of my life. I practically feel ice crystals forming in the air. Well, I should strongly prefer to be short of stature than short of cerebral matter, as seems to be your tendency. Ouch, not a bad blow. But wait, if you're a freelance detective, does that mean that this is an interrogation and that I'm a suspect? If I have to go to the police station, do I get an excused absence from class? I see no need to reverse your expectation that you will be taking the unexcused absences as they are. Consider it an inevitability similar to your clinical depression. That stops me. What? How could she possibly... What would even make her think something like that? You might as well carry a sign. From your uniform, you are a student at the academy. From the fact that you are wearing it, you attended school this morning. From your presence in the town rather than in class, you are, as I believe they call it, playing hooky. From the prescription slip, you are enrolled in the recently developed therapy method that the academy has been boasting. From your fairly normal physicality and social skills, your problem is most likely clinical depression, or something like high-functioning autism. Okay, I get it, you're a detective. And you're impressed, but pretending not to be. It is pretty impressive. The observations themselves might seem like common sense, but a person who can actually synthesize them is a rare find. Which, of course, kind of just makes her even more annoying. I relax a little, oddly relieved that she hasn't actually secretly researched me. Now it's your turn. My turn? Of course. What can you see from my physical presentation? I invite you to give your brain some much-needed exercise. That gets close to firing me up. Close. Sorry, but I have my therapist's instructions to follow. Unless you have any actual business with me, I'd appreciate it if you left me alone. I step around her again. This time, she doesn't move. But just as I think that I'm home free, I hear a soft whisper drifting from behind me. Do you not wish to play a bigger role in society than an inconsequential pawn in this game of life? Or will you restrict yourself to the confines of your own abilities just because of her? I quietly stop. Turn around slowly. Tell me how you know that, right now. I shall, after you prove yourself mentally capable of comprehending the simplest of my explanations. Fine, she wants to play it that way? Let's play it that way. Time to focus. I'll start with... we'll start small. Unlike the standard professional wear I might expect of a law enforcement agent, she's dressed comfortably. Probably can do that because she's a freelance detective. They also haven't been ironed in a while, which means either she doesn't care or she's a workaholic, possibly a combination of both. Her shirt proclaims king, conscious or unconscious association with her egotism. I can't tell much, but I find it strange that she's dressed so casually and expects people to take her seriously. With her height and her clothes, it's a wonder that she's often mistaken for a kid. Is it any wonder? And one more thing bothers me. She wears comfortable-looking clothes, which I previously assumed were for efficiency. After all, chasing down criminals in high heels is a stupid idea. And yet, something stands out. Wearing a hoodie is uncomfortable, and so are glasses. Right? No, actually there's nothing wrong with that. What's odd about assuming that she's wearing these clothes for mobility? Right, hats are a pain to run with, because unless you keep one hand on them at all times, they're likely to flop around, fall off, or just generally be obnoxious. And the jeans are too tight to opt for flexibility. Running in those would either be very uncomfortable or very embarrassing, which implies that she just dresses how she wants to. Definitely a very headstrong individual. If she doesn't choose casual clothes for comfort, knowing that it can interfere with her job, then she purposely choosing the outfit to aggravate others, to announce her individualism? It would match her with her choosing to be a freelance detective instead of a corporate investigator. Free-spirited, rebellious, and, as I suspect from how she's shamelessly pulling me aside for no reason, guided more by her heart than her head, despite her intellect. Not bad. Next, I should think about body language. She spreads her weight evenly on both feet, unlike most girls who let it lie more on one side of their hip than the other. Even weight on both feet almost sounds like a fighting stance. She seems relaxed, but with that bright-eyed look of someone expecting danger around every corner. That kind of weight distribution doesn't seem to come naturally. Maybe she was in sports, or maybe in self-defense at one point. For a while, from the looks of it. I'd like to guess martial arts, but I can't say for sure. There are too many possibilities. Okay, then maybe I should think about this a different way. Her movements are very crisp and close to the body. When she's speaking, she doesn't gesture very much, even when yelling. Generally speaking, sports emphasize emoting on a huge scale. Roaring in victory, bawling in defeat, the works. Not only that, but limbs are trained more for gross motor skills than fine motor skills. On the contrary, Shigure has very tight control over her hands, almost to the point where she seems stiff, which likely points to something high control like ballet or archery, or a more subtle martial art like Wing Chun. Well, that still didn't narrow things down too much. Time to move on. I've noticed that when Shigure moves, she primarily tends to use her... She's got her right hand on her hip, so I'm going to go with that. The left hand is generally stagnant, while her right often takes the most action, adjusting her glasses or tapping against her hip. Probably safe to assume that she's right-handed. So she used to be involved in a high-control form of physical exercise, and she's right-handed. Is that all I can get from her body language? Well, she doesn't wear any noticeable makeup, she dresses like a kid, and she's wearing glasses instead of contacts, just calling more attention to her pathetic stature. Wait a minute. When I put it that way, it almost sounds like she has a mental disability, wants to be underestimated. Even though she pretends to be indignant about being mistaken for a kid, it looks like that's her intent. Even though she's a freelance detective, she doesn't wear her badge anywhere or carry a gun or anything, really. She probably believes that being underestimated is a valuable skill. I can't say I personally agree, but hey, she's the 26-year-old freelance detective, not me. Circumstances. Why here? Why now? Why me? These are all questions I need to address. A detective approached me and bombarded me with questions, but I see no other policeman. Is she doing this just because she's bored? No, she was specifically looking for an academy student for some reason. I'm coming up short in this area. I'll have to think about this later. I take a step back to look at the full picture. No, this isn't it. Not quite. It's good information, but it's basic. Nothing stands out. I can't actually use any of this. Time to think a little deeper. Is there anything that can help me? Anything at all? Something I've missed? A phone ringing. That's what you've missed. Inamoto speaking. Yes? If you cannot solve such an appallingly simple task by your own means, I shall consider your intellect no different than that of a headless chicken's. Good day. Now, you may want to hasten your efforts before the ground upon which we stand becomes our gravestones. Yeah, I'm on it. I say this distractedly primarily because I noticed she has a flip phone. Ancient technology by today's standards. Buttons, 2-inch screen, primitive camera, the works. Not just that, but it's a terrible looking flip phone. The kind of decor that you'd see on prepubescent phones, whatever. Rhinestones, heart stickers, even the random scrawl from a Sharpie that was too faded into the metal for me to read. It's completely unlike her. Which means that it's a wealth of information. While on the call, she so graciously turned the phone in my direction, allowing me to catch a glance of her wallpaper. Shock. It was a picture, at least a few years old, of a guy hugging her. Double shock. She was proudly showing off a ring. Not a cheap, cutesy colored ring, like the couple bands on a new relationship in its second week. A legitimate diamond ring. An engagement ring. But she's not wearing the ring anymore. Even looking at her hands at this moment, I can tell that I can't tell even that she'd ever worn one. Wow, that was hard. Which means that she once had a fiancé, and he broke up with her, and he did it a long time ago. Of course. If an engagement had ended recently, I'd see a tan around her finger or maybe an indent. Instead, there's nothing. Which means that the fiancé called off the engagement a while ago. She obviously didn't call it off, not if she's keeping that picture on her phone. In fact, maybe they broke it off amicably if she hadn't deleted it yet. Either that, or she's a stalker. Alright, that's much more like it. I think I'm ready. I square my shoulders and look her in the eyes. Sorry about the wedding. Hello? What wedding? Is she serious? How can I possibly word this delicately? Yours, the one that your fiancé called off a few years ago. Did he? Didn't he? Unless she does have a wedding ring and she just doesn't wear it. Is it in your pocket or something? You might seek to articulate yourself better. Is what in my pocket? Your wedding ring. Why would I have a wedding ring in my pocket? If your fiancé didn't call off the wedding, then wait. No, there's one more possibility, and since she's in law enforcement, it wouldn't be unlikely. I immediately shut up as the realization dawns on me. I see you have realized. Yes, he never called off the wedding, because he died. I suddenly feel very, very callous. I'm sorry. Silence. Say nothing that you do not mean. Unless you are manipulating others to extract information, as this is an occupational hazard. Right. Even as she continues on, I mentally hit myself for my error. I shall admit, civilian, that you have done adequately. Train your senses consistently, and you might become moderately useful in the future. Thanks, really. I'm overwhelmed. But I ask of you this. What is the meaning when a freelance detective approaches a student and asks a string of seemingly unrelated questions of him? She suspects him of a crime, she's testing him, she has a crush on him. Testing. You're testing my intelligence for some reason. Or you're actually a marketing intern trying to conduct some bizarre survey. I wouldn't know. Shigure fixes me with an unfathomable stare. The only sign of emotion on her face are her eyebrows, which are almost raised to her hairline. What is your name? Sorry? Your name. This has nothing to do with the case, but if I protest, she'll probably smack me with more verbal abuse. Yama Ishimoto. What is she thinking of? Her derision is preferable to her silence. I postulate that you possess anonymity of free time. What is your assessment regarding a cabinet métier? I don't know what that is. It's French. Who even uses those kinds of words? Are you asking me to be your assistant? Servant, not assistant. Putting me and job in the same sentence is never a good idea. I barely have enough diligence to hand out stuff in class when I'm called on by the teacher. How much worse would my punishment be if I worked with a woman, this crazy? Not detention, I'd assume. And yet, examining pieces of a puzzle, putting them together, framing the whole story, was fun. Logic, ingenuity, resourcefulness. And almost nothing is fun to me, which makes it doubly interesting. Sure, why not? Good, I will require your contact information, then be off. I take a moment to process this. That's it? Wait, how did you know? Know what? You told me earlier about her. A tense moment ticks by as Sugar Ray stares evenly at me. Pure conjecture. You can't be serious. You did not appear to notice that my wording was intentionally vague. What, but you said... Do you not wish to play a bigger role in society than an inconsequential pawn in this game of life? Or will you restrict yourself to the confines of your own abilities just because of her? Oh, classic bait for confirmation-based bias. Appeal to a person's general desire for significance. Allude to just one person for some added resonance. All she would have to guess is the gender. 50% chance of striking a chord in her victim. She probably guessed a girl from my personality. I'm not exactly the type to easily befriend guys. A bait. Just bait. I see you understand. And on that note, guys, I'm going to end it here because it's running a little long and I don't want these to get too long. So we will pick up and see what happens with Sugar Ray. That was a lot of perception going on. So on that note, I'm logging off, guys. I'll see you guys later. And remember to do something nice for a stranger today. You may just save a life. Bye!